Friends and enemies. Welcome back, Canadian Bitcoiners podcast on a bitingly cold day here in Southern Ontario. My name is Joey. That's Len. Len, happy inauguration day. How are you?
I'm good. It was chilly. Is that why it was indoors? That's the reason why.
Yeah.
Official reason. Yeah. Well, how are you, Joey? Are you staying warm over there?
Yeah, super warm. I got the big hoodie on today. Took my dog for a walk a little while ago. It is like freezing out.
And I am in my golf shirt ready.
Yeah, like I don't know. One of us is wrong here. I'm not going to say which one, but clearly there's a disconnect here.
This type of garb inside. Eternally, it's summer where I am.
Yeah.
And I try to keep it like that because,
eternal summertime of your mind or what?
As long as mentally I'm in summer, I don't care. I'm happy. I hate the winter. I can't stand it. My car starter, 23 years, rest in peace to that guy. It's gone. Yeah, but got a new starter and it's back on the road. Although
back on the road, baby. Let's keep it going. Well, we got a big show today. Obviously, we got to talk Trump. We got to talk the coin that Trump pumped for him and his wife. I don't know who else got one in the family there, a bunch. We got to probably talk some pardons, probably talk Coinbase loans. If you're a Gazan trying to escape a ceasefire, interesting. You get another $5,000 from the government here.
Not that much. No.
$3,500 per couple plus $1,500 more per kid, right? I'm pretty sure that's the total.
Geez, and I'm gonna take a look. It's $3,000 per adult. Okay. So if it's a couple, it's $6,000 for a few kids, and
a lot. Not bad.
But they base it off individuals, so not per couple. It's individually you get that. But
we're gonna talk about all that. Before we start, the sponsors, EasyDNS, Mark, and the team, the Friendly Neighborhood Registrar. If you want to start a website, start a business, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with EasyDNS, but we'll talk about the websites first. If you need to buy a domain, you want to port a domain, doesn't matter. Mark can help you with that. He'll take care of it for you. He'll help you with everything you need. When you bring a domain over or buy a domain, what do you get, Len? You get your own personal email. You get all the virtual private server stuff that you need if you're a Bitcoiner. You get DomainSure to ensure that you stay secure. You don't get rugged by some, hacker who spoofs your domain, steals people's data, blah, blah, blah. And best of all, Mark is a Bitcoiner himself. He's been taking Bitcoin as payment at EasyDNS for years now. I think a decade, probably since 2014, if I remember correctly. And just not a guy that you need to worry about in terms of having your content taken down. Incredible service over there. We've been using Mark for a long time. He's been a friend of the show and obviously a partner of the podcast as well. Couldn't ask for a better headline sponsor. Go over to EasyDNS. Use the promo code CBP Media. You get 50% off your first round of buys. You can't beat that. That's great business, man. And not to mention that if for some reason you're unsatisfied, you get your money back. Not that you would be. We've never heard of anyone being unsatisfied with EasyDNS, and I don't expect, listener viewer, that you will be the first. Who's the second sponsor?
Yeah, it's Bull Bitcoin, and they're not obviously in it to hurt you. They're in it to help you. Buy some Bitcoiners. If you want to sell your Bitcoin, you can do that as well. We can do it on-chain Lightning. Last I checked, fees were low. Let me check again. I should have checked earlier, but I didn't here. 9 sats for BByte. We're kind of creeping up a little bit. Still on-chain is the way to go. That's my opinion. So if you're don't want to buy, don't want to sell, you want to do some other things with your Bitcoin, you could do that with Bull Bitcoin. Say you still have a large credit card bill from Christmas. It's the Christmas hangover. You got to pay it. One way to pay it is use the Bitcoin that you have stacked. It's gone up in price quite a bit in the past year, actually more than that. So, why not pay your bills with your Bitcoin? And Bull Bitcoin will enable you that with your bill service. Other things you could do with your Bitcoin, you could use that to buy gift cards and start spending it in the real world. So if you have to go like Home Depot and you got to repair something on your house, or say you want a coffee at Starbucks, well, you're good to go. You could get one of those gift cards over there. Not only that, Bull Bitcoin, they're expanding in the Eurozone. So if you're in like Francia, Italia, Svizzero, Germania, so many places you could be, and you could get access now to Bull Bitcoin. So if you're there, check it out and use our promo code. And if you do that, at least in Canada, you get $21 added to your account. No questions asked.
Those death slams going to show up loud and clear in the waveform when I'm doing the audio editing later tonight. The third sponsor,
very angry, my friend, very angry.
Central Technologies. Len and I were just talking. We have a couple of miners to give out to friends of the show, sitting to my right. And if you didn't get one of the CBP branded miners, it's probably too late. But if you didn't get a miner at all and you want one, you don't care if it's CBP branded. I mean, these are the guys you got to be talking to. The Decentral team, Yeah, look at that thing. You can't beat it. The thing
beautiful.
hums quiet. Okay, Len's got it right up to his mic there. No noise. Your wife's not going to divorce you. And if she does divorce you, you might have enough money to pay for the lawyer if you hit a block mining solo. So good for you. Good luck with all that. Don't forget too that if you want to mine at like a garage level, something with a little bit more scale, a little bit more intensity, these guys can help you with that too. They have everything you need in terms of board maintenance, in terms of unit maintenance, in terms of unit acquisition and buying these things up front. And, as a Canadian company too, you really got to throw your support behind these guys because there's tons of ways to do mining, but not many originate in Canada. We like Kaboom Racks, we like all these other companies, but they're not Canadian. If you call Decentral Tech, you get a Canadian guy. A francophone at that. So you better speak French as well. But if you're looking to start mining, these are the guys you want to do it with. They've been great friends to the show. And, we don't have a promo code or anything. So head over and start your Bitcoin mining today. Yeah, as Boomer says in the chat, get a Bitcoin miner for your wife's boyfriend. He'll love it. He'll love it. So let's do a little housekeeping here. Or we'll go to the boost first, and we'll do some housekeeping just for the show schedule coming up and what we just went through as well.
All right. Well, the boost, my apologies, because a lot of it's been lost in the sauce here. And so I actually had to go back to a transaction to find a few. For whatever reason, Fountain doesn't amalgamate them the way it used to do it, but I was able to find all the boosts. So we have wartime, 333 sats. And like always, a fire emoji and a couple of beer mugs doing the cheers. Wartime, you're on ball. Every week, we get one or more for you. So thank you very much. Duggan Roop, 1,028 sats. He says, glad to hear from Francis again and Bull Bitcoin's international expansion. Love the legacy question. What can I do now to leave a mark after I'm gone? And then how can I pass on the resources to ensure they'll be able to continue along the hard path? Lambo chat can be left for others, 100%. 100%, yeah. Not sure if you want to expand on that, Joey, because you were in that interview, and a lot of people loved it.
Well, let's go through the boost, and I'll talk a little bit about the Francis interview and a little bit about the other interviews we did last week and what we have coming up as well.
Okay, so we have Shirtless Summer, 950 sats. He writes, the Liberal Party should be napalmed, and you all clap along like zoo seals. Joey quotes are always worthy of sats. Hope dumb Canadians don't get fooled by WF Puppet, Carbon Tax, Carney. And last but not least, we have Sir Snacksalot, 970 sats. I'm not sure what attracted me to listening to the CBP, the highbrow information content, or the tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theories, but having them both in the same episode.
Wait a minute. What tinfoil hat?
I have maybe a little tinfoil hatty, I guess. I have no clue.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, it says, but the having them both in the same episode is why I keep listening. Ban the banks and the Fed and be self-sovereign.
Totally.
But Bitcoin, don't care. It don't care. It just keeps on running. It's a network on its own, and I'm securing it. I got my node doing its thing. Well, I got my node over there doing its thing. I got my miner doing its thing as well. So I'm, completing the circuit.
TikTok,
Joey,
nice block, baby.
You have some things you want to chat about? Past, present, future, I'm guessing.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk a bit about what's going on in CBP land here. So last week we did 2 interviews, one with Francis, which, Francis is obviously a sponsor of the show, but he's, I consider him a friend. I've talked to him in person and online, and, we've been to the same dinners a few times at this point. And like, the guy is he's just incredible to talk to because he's so mission focused that I think he's one of the only guys in Bitcoin who really is like, truly head down, thinking about nothing besides Bitcoin and sovereignty. And the sovereignty he's thinking about is for himself, for his family, as you mentioned, and for Bitcoiners, and for his company, and for his country, and all these things. And he wants.
Is he coming back to Canada for the conference?
He TBD. We can talk about that after. I talked to him a bit about another trip he's making soon, but we can't talk about it on the air. But this is a guy who's like serious, about Bitcoin and sovereignty. And a lot of people are serious about Bitcoin, but to do the things he's done and to take the risks that he has especially over the last 4 years, 5 years, I guess at this point, there's no one else doing this stuff. I've said before that if you look at the gap between what he says and what he does, it's very small. And if you look at the gap between what Jack Mallers says and what he does, it's very big. And so Francis is actually a guy talking the talk, walking the walk, and delivering on things, not only for his business, but for the Bitcoin space broadly. And it's something that's becoming more and more rare as the space grows. So yeah, big shout out to him. Thanks to him for coming. Also, Francis has never heard of plugging in his computer or cell phone before a podcast starts. I'm pretty sure. So this is like the third or fourth time he's been on. Every time there's a battery crisis at about an hour in. So enjoy that.
A good gift idea. We could get him an UPS
power bank. Yeah, let's get him something that he can plug in. Second interview I did last week was with Mark Ribito. Mark is has been a big influence on me. Not only in my strength training, but also in the way that I think about certain things in my life overall. Ripito is a guy who has, really simplified what the industry wants to be a very complex, money sucking, time sucking, gatekeeping subject in weight training. And it really is as easy as adding a little bit to your bar every week and trying to lift it, and then drinking a ton of milk and eating a ton of eggs and sleeping enough. And I guess having enough sex to keep your testosterone up if you're a guy, and whatever the equivalent is for women. But like, it's really that simple. And, talking to Mark, I think one of the things that you should take from that interview, and you should be listening to Starting Strength Radio too, by the way, if you listen to this show, you'd love that podcast. One of the things you should take from that interview and from Mark and from the Starting Strength method is that almost everything can be reduced to something simpler and more effective without the frills, without the fake expertise, and without the gatekeeping, the way that he's done it with weight training. I think that's really valuable. And we're seeing that in Bitcoin a lot, right? I don't need inflationary currencies. I don't need the Federal Reserve. I was just going to
go there, Joey.
I just don't need it. Yeah.
Keep it simple, stupid. This applies to almost everything in life. You don't need to overcomplicate things, over-engineer things.
Totally.
Make it simple.
And Ripito's done that. And the results are significant. There's a guy on his channel, a kid who at, I think, 235 or 245 pounds, overhead presses 405. 4 plates aside, overhead press. Now it is the starting strength / sort of strength training version of the overhead press, which is a lot of kind of lower back and there's a bit of a swing, but it's a white light, and I think like when I look at that video and I look at the replies and I see the people who are against starting strength broadly, they're all, they got the physique of a melted piece of licorice. Like, you're fucking weak. You're a loser. And the reason you don't do starting strength is because it's fucking hard. It's hard getting under the bar for 300. It's easy to do split squats with 30-pound dumbbells in either hand. It's hard to squat 315. It's easy to do lat raises with 25 pounds, 5 sets of 10 reps. It's hard to overhead press 155. It's hard. And Mark is right about the simplicity, and he's right about the difficulty. If it ain't hard, it ain't worth it. And if it ain't simple, then you don't need to be doing it. And
this, I gotta pick your brain then. As you get older, is it still wise to go heavy and lift hard?
I am stronger today than I've ever been.
But you're only 30 something. I'm talking older when you're talking 40, 50, 60.
I don't know. I think that I have a lot of room to go. And I think, starting strength has programming the programming basically changes at 40. But I mean, when Mark wrote these books, nutrition was a lot different, and sleep and hydration, all these things were a lot different. And he's revised the books a few times. I have one here in front of me. Actually, I have both of them here behind me. And, these things will get easier. The same way that I happen to think that teams who don't sign elite level running backs because they're 27 and 28, pretending like it's 10 years ago, and running backs they got more miles now or less miles now, and they're more well managed and their nutrition is better and all these things. I think it's the same for weight training. The older you get, if you told me 10 years ago that I would go through an Achilles tear at 33 and still be like the fastest guy on the field, basically anytime I play football, I would have said no way. But the medical treatment and the understanding of injuries and nutrition and all these things has changed. And so it's not specific to me. It's everybody who's been doing these things properly for a while and sees that there's opportunities for more strength, more growth, more development. And Ripito, to his credit, way ahead of the curve, and still is ahead of the curve. He is not. We talked about it a bit. I'm actually going to send him Safe's book and an Open Dime, and we'll see how it goes. I will say as well, Ripito, I mentioned this after the program, and I don't know if he's okay with me saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I asked him why he doesn't do too many away games, because he is really a wealth of knowledge. And unless you're looking for that podcast, you'd never hear the stuff that's adjacent to strength training. Like we talked about before, it's kind of this KISS method for living, right? Keep it simple, stupid. The reason he doesn't do it is because he doesn't think that a lot of podcasts have any value to add and have no production quality. And he's like, I would come back on your show anytime. I really enjoyed our conversation. I think you're doing something. Man, I'm so flattered by that. I've had a lot of guests tell me that they think I'm a good interviewer and that they think our podcast is good and you and me are doing something that's valuable. But coming from him, man, like that, I think is a high bar. And I'm like, I can see myself like blushing a little bit talking about it. I am so psyched on that interview and I can't wait to do it again. I hope that he comes back on in the future and we can talk a bit about what's going on in the world at that time. He is a wealth of knowledge that people are not tapping into at the rate they should be. And I truly feel
let me know when you send out that the book. And because I may secretly mail you a node and we could just almost complete the circle here all together and have you run it. This would be awesome. If we could get you doing that, like this is the goal for 2025 to get you finally fucking running a node.
Yeah, I'm sending it
so cool.
for people who don't do Bitcoin and you're sending me a node because I haven't done it yet. But no, that was good. And so this week, that was last week. This week, we had the mayor of Vancouver send us a feeler a couple of weeks ago. And I'm going to talk to him tomorrow night, 7:00. Mayor Ken Sim is going to come on the show. He's done, I think, a few other shows, Brunel's show. I don't know who else talked to him, but he wants to talk to us, and I'm happy to oblige. I make no guarantees that we will stay on Bitcoin, and I'll tell you why. Vancouver is a city with so much potential and a city that's being destroyed by drug use. And I've seen it firsthand. I have some experience with it here in Hamilton, and I think I could have a conversation with him about that as well as Bitcoin. And I think that he's going to have some good answers in both cases because Bitcoiners, people who understand Bitcoin understand things like incentive models. And for him to understand Bitcoin and not understand what's happening in Vancouver, I think is very unlikely. I'm looking forward to talking to him on both subjects and whatever else comes up. Maybe I'll ask him if he can squat 225. I don't know.
But a lot of it is he can't. It's out of his control.
I totally agree. I'm not looking to place blame. I'm looking for his views on what's happening and what's the way out of it. That's all.
If you look at
he's also a new mayor. He hasn't been there long, right? No problem.
If you look at the way Canada is structured, as per law, there's really only two layers of government. There's the provincial government and federal government. That's the way all duties are delegated as per the federal law. And within the provincial law, they sub-delegate to municipalities, but still they roll up. If the municipality screws up royally, or if another jurisdiction under the province screws up as well, school boards, for instance, they could step in and take over. They have the ability to do that. There's only two levels of government. So municipally, they only have so much they can do. Their hands are tied. They're dealing with what the province gives them, and province of BC, you know what it's like. We talked about it at length.
Yeah,
the show.
Orange. So
sometimes it's blue. We've had
I know,
right? It's everywhere. It's just blue there is different than blue elsewhere.
So we have Mayor Sim tomorrow, and then Wednesday night Phil Back. It could be Bach. I have to double check how you say his last name. If you don't know Phil, I would recommend heading to his Twitter account, which I think is just Phil Back. You can check it out on. It's on my feed for sure because I tweeted out about the guest a little while ago. He's a market commentator and a guy who I think has some unpopular opinions about markets, probably about Bitcoin, and just about the general direction of, I think, financial culture and culture more broadly. And so I'm looking forward to speaking with him. He's a guy who I don't hear too often on podcasts. In fact, I've only heard him once, and it was on Chris Iron's QTR, his podcast, maybe a year and a half ago or something. He's a guy who's, again, I think there's some underfollowed accounts, and I think he's one of them. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to say about, what's going on in financial markets with the election, obviously, and the inauguration happening today. He's going to have a lot to say, and he's not going to be afraid to say what he thinks, which is always valuable and always exciting here on CBP. Those are the only kinds of people we talk to. And then I don't even know who we're talking to next week. I have to remember. I think it might be BTC BAP for this Bitcoin space in Denver on Wednesday, if I remember correctly. So sit tight for that. That'll be good too. But
how come we didn't get an invite to this Denver event? I mean,
we get invites to everything. We just don't go.
I didn't get the invite to fucking Denver. I would have loved to have gone to Denver, but not now. It's too cold.
Everybody I talk to invites me somewhere, and I am always happy.
Nobody invites me anywhere, which is what, because
that's just your speed, yeah.
I'm consistently consistent, so yeah.
Let's roll. What do we got?
Yeah,
that was 16, 19 minutes of nonsense. Let's talk about something important.
Trump got sworn in. Trump coin Run
Trump
with
and
it, Joey.
Dub.
This one's yours. Go ahead.
I don't care that much about this. Like, I think that it's legal, so do whatever you want. There's a lot of retards out there, so buy it and get rugged by Barron, and whatever else happens. But the thing to keep in mind here is that, and I said this to you and Mark, in our sort of sidebar, the likelihood of this administration not doing some kind of reserve of Bitcoin and other nonsense is basically zero. The likelihood of them doing a Bitcoin only reserve is basically zero. It's going to be some mix. It's going to be a menage of garbage. And all these VCs who are part of the quote unquote administration transition team, like, these boys got heavy bags because alts have underperformed generally, especially stuff from the last cycle this time around. If you look at some of the highs, I know people talk about XRP and all these things, but it's like 20%, 30% higher, I think, last I checked, than it was last cycle. Meanwhile, Bitcoin, has done almost a clean double, getting from, or I guess not quite a clean double, maybe like 70% or something like that. But the idea that these guys like David Sachs and Elon and Vivek, who's not going to be part of Doge, I read today, he's worn out his welcome, according to some people. The idea that these guys don't have any coins that they would like to see the value increase in is wrong. And I think if you look at some of the, the likelihood that suddenly the corruption in politics is going to stop, like, no, Trump is a lot of things, but he is a money maker, first of all. And, he's not going to pass up an opportunity to make a little bit of coin on his investments. And of course, get his friends rich too.
So
those dinners don't pay for themselves. Good for Bitcoin.
How and why so?
Anything that removes clouds from the feelings that the administration has toward Bitcoin, good. So if they put something in a reserve or say they're not going to sell, even if it's with other stuff, I think it's good. I think everybody in the market understands what Bitcoin is. There are people who make money and get engagement by pretending they don't, but everybody understands. Shitcoiners, altcoiners, TradFi people, I think everybody gets it that Bitcoin is the thing. And they can pretend they don't get it. But even if it's, Bitcoin and XRP or Bitcoin and Solana or Bitcoin and whatever, everyone knows who the king is, and that's not going to change. And so it's good for Bitcoin, medium, long-term, whatever. You don't think it's good for Bitcoin? Like, I think everything at this point that's related to Bitcoin from the US government, so long as it's not a ban, is good. Everything else is directionally
even
good.
a ban, it's good for Bitcoin.
Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It's not a problem, I don't think.
No, it just adds to the whole degen situation out there, where a lot of people are just rolling the dice, trying to make a home run here, trying to hit one out of the park, and good luck to them. It's not, in terms of like having Bitcoin. I'll take a step back. What's the goal with Bitcoiners, really? Like, what do Bitcoiners? What do we want?
The thing I want the most is for the mempool to have more pictures of Donald Trump. Isn't that what you want?
No.
The most?
No, that was a very costly image too.
Oh, fuck yeah.
No,
Sure.
it's replacing the monetary system, right? It's
Definitely,
putting a hard asset in there where you could have transparency, and you don't have money being printed and people manipulating money and weaponizing and so forth. What's been done in the past few days has done absolutely nothing to get us a step closer. Hasn't gotten us any further, but it's done neither closer. So it's neutral towards Bitcoin with respect to achieving that goal. Because to me, that is the ultimate goal.
Let me ask you something.
Number go up.
Okay, I was just about to say. So you're separating NGU from financial, replacing the fiat. Are these not one and the same to you at this point? Like, no. Isn't one driving the other? And vice versa. Like, they're driving each other. It's a nice flywheel, I think.
It helps bring in new folks, because the thing that people like, they want more wealth. And if the number go up, they could say, oh, this is a place where I could park some money and then get more out of it later on. So it's a way to adapt, to attract new people into it. But in the end, what it is I don't want my money to be devalued.
Yeah.
And that's what Bitcoin can provide. There's a set amount. Nobody could take that from you. Nobody could stop you from using it. Nobody could manipulate it, weaponize it. It's a beautiful thing. Again, going back, nothing in this past week,
no matter how much,
has done nothing to achieve that.
Exactly. Exactly. No
So
matter how
it's-
much Jamie
it's crap.
Jerkoff, no matter how much Jamie Jerkoff Diamond says that the 21 million is not credible, it's just not changing. And the transactions are censorship resistant. It's not changing. Can't be done. You're totally right. You're totally right. Like usual, like usual.
Hey, so I look at that and I see this Trump coin, this Melania coin, and all this other garbage.
How about the Melania launch, Len? Like, the Trump one I expected, but Melania? That is like, Baron, put the phone down, buddy.
Stop, so there are people out there
launching.
Their sole purpose, and you hinted on it, is to enrich themselves. You can only do that if you take away from somebody else. Granted, it's a system where they could create more money and more money could be generated. Still, but by doing so, you're devaluing the currency and hurting a lot of other people. But when you do something like this, you're encouraging people to, or trying to usher people into this system where they could just gamble it and then get wrecked in the process. That does zero for fucking the end goal for Bitcoin. It's absolute. And then, I mean, on a tangent here, today we had the World Liberty File. I don't know what the fuck it's called. They bought a swath of things.
Wrapped.
Like Cardano, I saw on the list. But fucking wrapped Bitcoin.
Dun, dun, dun.
Like, could you imagine going out there and say, I got Bitcoin? It ain't fucking Bitcoin. It's
I haven't wrapped it in like 13 years. I don't need to. I'm trying to stay away from that kind of product.
The ultimate in terms of a power move would be if Vitalik rolls back the blockchain and that fucking wrapped Bitcoin is now gone. That's fucking power. That's what he would never do that, of course. But
no.
That's the ecosystem in which you're operating in. It is centralized garbage. And to claim that they've bought Bitcoin, or at least make a connection with buying Bitcoin, I don't care who buys Bitcoin. Anybody could fucking buy it. Here with the fucking charts. Anybody could fucking buy it, and then they could do whatever they want. They could burn it. Fuck you. It's all the more power to you. But to buy something that is heavily tied to a shitcoin or a shitcoin network and to say it's Bitcoin, like, fuck you. Like, it's pathetic.
Yeah.
And people,
do you know how
there
Wrapped
are people
works?
calling them out for this? There are some people who are not calling them out.
Yeah. Do you know how Wrapped works? Like, I was talking to our friends Wayfaring and SB today for a bit. Yeah,
somebody has to hold the Bitcoin for you, so you go.
It gets bought, and then exactly, yeah.
Right. So
I mean, it's just
the wrapped Bitcoin gets created by a market maker.
Yeah, exactly.
I fucking read up on this.
There's no point. Like, I don't understand. At least before, when I was talking shit about this, I really had no idea what it was, and now I know what it is. And it makes me more likely to talk shit about it. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you ever buy this? Why not just buy Bitcoin instead of this other stuff? Is it because you save a step in converting the cryptos? I don't know.
There's more to it. Then if you look at all the domains that were bought up in the past couple of days, I sent a link to this. I'm not sure if you saw it. Worldliberty.eth, trumpcoin.eth. These are domain names. erictrump.eth, barontrump.eth. They all purchased these in the past. So they're wearing ETH hats, right? Like if .eth.
I did see that.
Using Ethereum network. This is not fucking Bitcoin. This is shitcoinery. Like, do whatever the fuck you want, but don't say you're a fucking Bitcoiner.
Help me understand. So I'm looking at this chart here, the Wrap BTC price chart. I guess this is in ETH terms. Is that what it is? I don't know. How is this going down?
I don't know.
What I don't understand how this is measured. I am so out of the loop.
Let's simplify this with your Mark Rippon discussion you were talking about earlier.
Mark Rippon.
Guy won a Super Bowl, by the way, Canadian born. It's very simple. You could buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And it really boils down to either 12 or 24 words. And you could make it more complicated if you want. You can have multi-swing of phrases. There's a lot of, but if you really want to simplify it, it's just 12 or 24 words. It's all it is. There's nothing to, and that you will always have access to it as long as you're the only person that has access to those 12 or 24 words.
Yes.
And it's something beautiful about this. When something like this, I see it, they bastardize the name Bitcoin. And they try to fucking attach their wagon on it. There's no fucking connection.
I know.
Get the fuck away. Don't say that you're a Bitcoiner.
Listen,
it's fucking pathetic.
You're right.
And
You're right.
he was at a conference, at a Bitcoin conference, talking only or mostly Bitcoin, but the people behind him, right? Like, and I don't want to name. It's like talking about Diablo, but it's like the people behind him, like they're just there to try to enrich themselves as well.
I think
trying to use the good name of Bitcoin as fucking.
Who are you talking about?
Who's the people that are celebrating the selling of $500 million and stuff? Like I just look at quoted tweets.
He didn't.
Right?
I don't think he sold.
Celebrate all you want. That's fucking bullshit.
He didn't sell. There's like a lock on it or something. I'm pretty sure. We're talking about this too. It is true, and I think for people, listen. God bless all the vigilantes out there, the Predators, the Zach XBTs, like pinning down these wallets and stuff. Even David Bailey, like pointing out that it's wrapped Bitcoin on Etherscan or whatever. Great. But like, don't let this get any more of your time. Don't do it. Like, I think David Bailey's doing some good stuff. Obviously, like I'm a fan of his, even if you're not. And like, there's people in that circle who understand what he should be doing and what he's promised to do. And to your point, I think a lot of the people in that circle are there for self-enrichment. I mean, who's not in the Trump circle looking to get rich? Who's in that circle? Like they're all trying to do that.
Let's fucking call it like it is.
Yeah,
and those are the people that they want to make bank off you.
Yeah.
They don't want it to sell
Len
you.
is pointing at you, by the way, not me. He's not.
Everyone. And it's everyone, everybody out there. I don't give a shit if you are not. I'm pointing at everybody out there. When I tell people to buy Bitcoin, I'm not telling them for them to enrich me. I'll be blunt here. I hope Bitcoin remains low in price for the next 7, 8, 9 years. That would be my fucking goal. Because then after that, I hope it rips, because I could accumulate as much Bitcoin during that time. And by the time I'm ready to pack it all in and go somewhere warm, I would have a great deal of wealth. But it's outside my control that this shit could go wherever it wants. If it rips, great. If it doesn't, great. I have no fucking control over this. But I'm not trying to tell people to do this and trying to do this to enrich me. I just want to make sure that my money doesn't get debased. That's it. I don't want other people to have that same thing. And I want people to unplug from a system in which people that are closest to the powerful folks get the most.
Yeah.
In Bitcoin, that doesn't happen. How do you get more from something in a network that is equal? Everybody's the same. You buy and you buy.
There's no benefit. There's no benefit.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's fucking, this is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I'm trying to achieve. And all these people that are trying to make money, fuck them all, including the people that, and I don't want to mention the name again, that you said, they are there to fucking enrich themselves. What are they doing with their magazine over there? They have these marketplaces in which they sell absolute trash, and the trash does what? But anything, it drives up the price of the transactions. They did it, and they did this with a smile on their face because they were making money in the process. But all of us in the end were suffering because if we had to move our fucking Bitcoin, we had to pay extra because the network was fucking congested. Now, it's a totally different argument altogether. I could go into the weeds here if I really wanted to, but I won't. But they're not fucking Bitcoiners. They say they're Bitcoiners. They're wrapped Bitcoiners. That's what they fucking are. They are fucking ETH Bitcoiners. Fuck them all. Every one of them.
I wish everybody involved a lifetime of riches and success. Where are we going next? That was good. That was like 40 or half an hour. I guess that's good. I thought we were there longer. Thankfully,
let's talk about Coinbase because they launched
sure.
new DeFi partnership. So good for them. And people over there, you're able to get a USDC loan without selling your Bitcoin. So if you are a Coinbase customer and you have some Bitcoin, you could use that to get some USDC, because, in the United States and a lot of jurisdictions, if you sell your Bitcoin, you're subjected to taxes. So this is one creative way to get around that. And this is available for customers in the US, excluding New York. So if you are in New York, you may want to relocate to a different place. But anyways, what they're doing here, it's another wrapped thing they're using. They're using a Coinbase wrapped Bitcoin, CBBTC. It's almost a CBTC almost in a way, but CBBTC. So when you borrow against your Bitcoin, your collateral is automatically converted to this Coinbase Bitcoin. It's 1-for-1, and it's done for free, and it's done on what they call a Morpho protocol. When I just read this shit, it just makes me want to fucking puke. And so I get it. They don't want to do a taxable event, but given the fact now that it's being converted, does that make it taxable? I don't know. this is something I don't have the knowledge. But either way, people could borrow up to $100,000 worth of USDC, depending how much Bitcoin you pledge, and users could be subjected to liquidation if it goes down to a predetermined level compared to the collateral value. So, at one time we let's be honest, we had a sponsor, Ledin, that offered this type of service, but
the B2X loan, the daisy chain,
a lot of
right?
things.
Yeah.
But during that time, and I remember I talked to you privately about this, there was a lot of things going on. It's like, my gosh, like at one time I was like, this is actually a good product, but there were events that took place that realized, you know what, holding your own keys is paramount. There's
invaluable.
Nothing you should. I understand the tax implications and all this and try to get around that, but the reality is, if you don't want to sell your Bitcoin because you don't want to get taxed in it, just hold on to it for longer or relocate or simply wait for the laws to change. Good luck. Those are your options. Where could you go? Portugal, I believe, has favorable tax laws to Bitcoin. El Salvador does.
Yeah.
There's probably a host of other countries as well. So check them out. There are other places you could go and live off your Bitcoin, so to speak. Do that rather than use this type of service, because in the end, there's a lot of, BlockFi, Celsius, a lot of these companies out there, they got wrecked. And if you're going to give up your coins just to get some USDC, you could get wrecked as well.
It's pretty important, I think, to look at the direction everything is going. So, for example, Senator Lummis in the States, talking these days about the key to Bitcoin. I don't want to say success. Success is not the right word, but to your point, to advantage Bitcoin holders and bring them up to speed with other asset holders in terms of tax opportunities. The biggest thing is this de minimis tax exemption, right? Anything that you spend in your Bitcoin stack under 10K or whatever it is shouldn't be taxable. That number is pretty good. I wish it was higher, but it gives you an opportunity to not have to give up your keys so that your Bitcoin becomes collateral for a fiat loan. You can't have that. That's not a good idea. And it's not a good idea for two reasons. One, the volatility is just too much to handle, and you have to be able to recollateralize that loan at a higher LTV during periods of economic difficulty in Bitcoin. Today, Len, the price of Bitcoin moved $9,000 in the course of like 12 hours. I don't know if Ledin would call a loan on that. I don't want to pick on Ledin. There's other businesses that do this, including Coinbase.
No, from what I gather, Ledin wouldn't. It would have to be like a very large percentage change.
And so maybe they wouldn't.
Be enough.
But like, you don't want to expose yourself to these price swings. You can't, because you're not going to have a chance to collateralize the loan or recollateralize it or whatever. And all you're doing is giving up more of your Bitcoin for more fiat. And it's not a cycle you want to be in. That's number one. Number two, I'm actually not convinced that this is going to be a loophole for long if everyone starts using it. Like at some point, much the same way that ShakePay now asks what wallet you're sending stuff to, the government at some undetermined, year in the future may say, yeah, we're tired of losing tax money on all these stupid loan products. So now anytime you send Bitcoin in excess of $10,000 to an address that you don't control, it's taxable. And like, that's an obvious hole in all this stuff. And if that doesn't happen, right, if they actually don't care about that, then the likelihood of favorable tax legislation coming to fruition here and in the States and wherever else is fairly likely. Those two things are not directly correlated, but I think there's tight correlation there. And so I just don't see the need to give up your coin for those loan products. And then, of course, maybe the third reason, you're not getting all the benefits you think you are. You're getting scalped for money and fees. You're getting scalped and arbed, and your stuff's getting repurposed to pay the interest. And it just, every time this happens, it's the same story. And I would stay away from this, especially from Coinbase. Coinbase is not a company I would be interested in giving the money to. Not because I think they're going to lose your Bitcoin, but because you see a story basically every day of someone whose name you would recognize, like they're a big enough player in the Bitcoin/crypto space on Twitter, not being able to get their money back, getting weird shotgun KYC or weird shotgun fund holds or weird shotgun account holds. Why would you want to subject yourself to that? I would never want to do that. And I don't imagine I'm never going to.
One time I would have said this is a decent product, but just given what has transpired since I've really focused on Bitcoin, there is no substitute from holding your own keys.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to play the game just for tax efficiencies, good luck. Good luck to you.
Yeah, totally.
All right, let's move on. Blockstream I'm not sure if you saw this. They released a new product called
Let's
the
pull it up.
Blockstream Jade Plus.
Yep.
And there's, remember, the Blockstream Jade, and now there's a Blockstream Jade Plus. It came out in the past week or two. And the price range is between $149 and $169 USD, and it's depending on the color you choose, which will be dependent on the price. And compared to the OG Jade, the Plus has a screen that is 66% larger. It has no more plastic body that the original Jade has. The casing now is aluminum, so it's going to be much more durable, and you'd expect it to have a longer life in terms of the outer shell. Included in this is something very interesting called a secure element chip. We talked about this, what's in Cold Card. Doesn't have it in the original Jade. It does have it in this. So it eliminates the need of having a blind oracle, where the original Jade, it encrypted your PIN and sent it off to a server to verify that you were the user. Obviously, that's not the most secure way of doing things. Doing it now internally on the chip itself makes it easier and more secure, because you're not relying on anybody, you're not trusting anybody to verify who you are. And so that one of the issues I had with the previous Jade, the original Jade, is it needed a physical connection in order to do any upgrade to the firmware, to the software.
It needs to be either connected to a computer, or it needs to be connected via Bluetooth to the green wallet on your phone, which is then connected. Obviously, it goes, the server obviously comes in and goes out, right?
Yeah. So there had to be some sort of connection.
Yeah.
Now from this one, it has the ability to use an SD card. So you could get the information from their website or verify it, put in the SD card, and do it air gapped, a la the Cold Card.
Yep.
And so it's a totally air gapped environment. So I look at this, the Blockstream Jade is definitely a step in the right direction. It still offers, if you don't like Liquid, for instance, it does offer support for that. Some people don't want added support. They just want Bitcoin only. That's your jam if that's the case, or it's not your jam. Either way, this is, you get the Canadian, everything I get is in USD because I'm in,
you get your VPN running.
Yeah. So I look at this, and it's a good product, a better product than the original Jade. I'd recommend, if you're looking for something, another wallet, consider this. I would suggest do some more research. I'm not going to give this the stamp to go ahead to get it yet, but at least from what I could tell, it's getting closer to the Cold Card. Is it matching it? Well, we'll see. The software is open source. From what I remember, you could look at it. So a lot of good things here that I could see.
Good mobile app. Like Green Wallet's really, really strong. You can use this with Sparrow too. You can use this with all the usual stuff. I think there's actually a slide here, if I remember correctly. I don't know. Oh yeah, here we go. Sparrow, whatever this is. What is this? Nunchuck, Blue Wallet, Electrum, Keeper, Spectre. So lots of options. I remember we both bought Jades a while ago to test them. I think when we were just like not starting out, when the show started making a little bit of money, we bought Jades to test them. I liked the Jade, but I think the screen is too small, right? And this one looks like it has a little bit of a better screen, which I appreciate. Overall, though, the thing I would say about Jade compared to, the other hardware wallets on the scene, the closer you get to a Cold Card, the more expensive you get. And the more expensive you get, the more likelihood it's better to just buy a Cold Card. So like these guys are all kind of fading the same way. Cold Card Q is a better product than this. Unless this camera is incredible, or unless this screen is incredible, but to your point, Cold Card Q, more secure, pure air gap, all that stuff. Had it for a long time, has the NFC. Or
what is the price of the Cold Card Q versus this?
It's like $300. It's like $300.
So there's US, Canadian?
Canadian, yeah.
So there's, it's
the gap is like, another $80. So
yeah.
Or if you want to get a gray one, it's $50. Yeah. And so like, is the Cold Card Q worth an extra $50 on top of this thing? Yeah. Keyboard. Like I think so. I think so too. And I'm not,
again, but I'm not going to show this in totality because
me neither. That's not fair. Yeah.
Yeah. It just, from what I can see of all the specs and everything, it's again, like I said, it's trending in the right direction. Is it Cold Card capable, or at least on par with Cold Card? I don't know. But the one thing it has, though, that for people that do like it, and I've talked about my displeasure of it, if people want to have functionality with liquid Bitcoin, this provides it and Cold Card does not. So cold card is Bitcoin only. Thumbs
Yeah.
up. This is not. I'm not going to give that the thumbs up. So, right, let's be honest.
This is probably the silver medal Bitcoin wallet, hardware wallet, I would say. It's definitely a podium finisher. I don't know what else you'd put on there, but
Seed Signer, a lot of people.
Yeah, but I think
that
it's hard. That's a hard thing to get going, as far as I understand, compared to this.
I don't know. I have never used it, but from what I gather, it's a heck of a device because you're using your Raspberry Pi to do it. So it's all, you do it yourself. And once you turn it off, it wipes everything. Like nothing is saved. So
like, see, I put that below this. Honestly,
I don't know. It depends what you're trying to achieve, right?
I guess.
How often do you?
If you want to just fucking lose your mind trying to figure out a fucking Raspberry Pi like it's 2005, you want to secure your wealth on something that you fuck around with on your own on hardware that's 20 years old, then sure, Seed Signer's for you. But if you want something that's semi-reliable, verified by many people, not something you can completely fucking ruin, and that you are comfortable storing, a significant amount of money value on, then I think you're better off cold card or this personally. I would not do a Seed Signer. I would not do a Seed Signer. I'm not the most technically savvy, but for me, it's like, what is the risk there? The risk is
I don't think it's as great as you say it is, or you're at least hinting it may be, but I can't say it's not because I haven't used it. But just given the feedback and all the talk about it, it seems like it's a good enough product to be considered as an alternative to cold card. And the reality is, how often do you or anybody out there sign transactions? I rarely do it. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if it's wiped and you have to start again and import your seeds. If that's how it is with the Seed Signer, I'm not even sure because I haven't used it. But is that really a big hurdle? Like, I have a watch only. That's not
the hurdle. The hurdle is doing it on a Raspberry Pi, and the Raspberry Pi has no secure element. For example, is a great reason why you wouldn't use one. Like that's a good reason right there.
Yeah, I can't speak on that. I haven't looked too far into it. So yeah. We'll just go to
we'll get Huddle D on here. I'll bring him over to the house and we'll talk about why this thing's.
I would love to have like somebody like him. But also somebody from the Seed Signer camp.
Who's in the Seed Signer camp? Who is it?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it'd be awesome to have somebody like from both sides of each talking about their product and saying what are the pros, maybe the cons of what they have and what the competitors have.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we're all Bitcoiners. We all want to achieve the same.
NVK can come back on, and we'll bring on a Seed Signer guy.
I would love to.
Guys, I think
he does, but. Yeah. Let's it'd be great to have a civil discussion as to why this is better than the other one, or maybe they're on par. I don't know. I could
only one way to find out. Only one way to find out.
Well, to try it out, and you know what? Like I said, I like my cold card a lot.
Yeah.
My cold card's Mark IV, so much so, and I respect that the Q is better than the Mark IV in almost every respect. In fact, every except for price.
Yeah.
I'm not replacing my Mark IV because I like it so much. I don't want to see that thing.
We ordered a Q. Remember, we ordered a Q. There's a Q sitting in my shelf outside that I haven't set up.
I don't want it.
It's like sitting by my PlayStation.
I just don't want it. I like my cold card Mark IV so much. I would. It would almost pain me in a way to see it collect dust because it's a good product. It does everything I need it to do.
Yeah,
it's like kind of like my car in a way. Like it does everything I need except when the starter dies. But once the starter is replaced, it's fine. And I would hate to see it collect dust and just put away. Because if it's functioning, if it works, fuck it, I'm keeping it. I like my cold card. Mark IV.
Totally.
Ontario Teachers Pension Plan. We
ragged on these guys so many times over the last few years. Just so bad. I ragged on them on Money Talks before. I've ragged on them like everywhere I go. I'm like, teachers pension here. You think that pension's safe? Look what these guys are buying. They're so bad.
$95 million USD, by the way, USD was invested in FTX. That
was in the third round. The third round. So they actually invested in that twice in the third and fourth round. So they didn't do their due diligence, not one time, but 2 times, man. 2 times.
Well,
come on.
That's all been written down on the books to
Yeah.
$0.
Yeah.
That's basically pissing 95 million USD away. That's what they've done. So a member of the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, he's basically had enough of this bullshit, and he decided to file a lawsuit against the pension plan for not conducting proper due diligence. And it's, quote, during its due diligence and investment approval process, the board failed to obtain adequate and reliable information about the FTX entity's internal controls in the critical areas of management and governance, finance and accounting, as well as digital assets management. So it's pretty damning. And the lawsuit is, what I see here, is 100% right. They failed to do it. If they've done it, they would have been so much better off by not investing. Or let's go one step further. What if they bought Bitcoin and they just held on to those keys? They still have that Bitcoin. That Bitcoin wouldn't have been lost, and it'd be worth a heck of a lot more in terms of the dollar value. When did they purchase into FTX? That was in 2021, I'm thinking, right?
Boomer noting here, it is the top of the cycle. Like, the timing could not have been worse from the pension plan. Could not have been worse.
Well, they did a terrible job.
Like someone's getting rich on all this shit, and it ain't me and you. How many?
Well, no,
like how
Christopher is saying them and everybody else. I didn't invest in FTX.
Me neither.
And I'm pretty sure, Christoph, you didn't invest.
And by the way,
FTX.
the pensions, Christoph, like I don't expect the pensions to be to be lumped in with everybody else, right? Like the pension, much like the market conditions thing. Okay, when you get rich, your financial advisor says that their strategy was good. When you get crushed, they say the market conditions caused the problem. When the pension doesn't do well, what do they say, right? When the pension underperforms or whatever, what do they say? They say, oh, we're conservative by nature. We have to make sure that our assets are well protected. It's an important institution, blah, blah, blah. And then when they get fucking nuked, okay, we can't say, well, everyone else did it, because they don't do what everyone else does. In fact, they make a living doing what everyone else doesn't do, which is play conservative, small ball. They're hitting singles. They're not swinging for the fence. And so I don't buy this. Oh, they did it like everyone else did it. No, that's not what they do. They're not supposed to be doing that. That's the whole point of the pension. And
they made some good purchases in the past, though. Remember, way back when they purchased Maple Leaf Gardens, whatever it was. The MLG, all that, and they made a pretty penny off that. And also Shoppers Drug Mart.
Great.
Those two purchases.
Wicked. What about the other ones?
You know what? There must be a lot of shitty ones, but I'm trying to give them credit for what they've done well. Those two purchases, they printed them money.
Yeah.
Now in this one, piss poor decision.
Did MLSE did MLSE do better than did MLSE do better than Amazon, Apple, Google, Meta, or Nvidia over the last 15 years, 20 years, 30 years? No. So they missed all that. Did Shoppers Drug Mart, outweigh the amount of dollars they fucking lost investing in CN Rail and Canadian banks? Like they're not. These guys are not untouchable in terms of performance, even though the reputation they evangelize for themselves would tell you otherwise. It's just not the case. They're not doing that well. If they were, again, I will say this until the fucking cows come home, okay? CPPIB has already started this trend. The teacher's pension is going to start it soon too. If you were that well funded, okay, you wouldn't have people, or if you were doing that well, I should say, you wouldn't have people fucking suing you about due diligence. You wouldn't have to write off FTX. And like we talked about years ago, and like we'll talk about again right now, if you made that mistake once, where else have you made the mistake? What other cards are waiting to be turned over? We'll see.
It's stupidity because this is
greed.
It's greed. It's fiat.
Yeah.
Like everybody else that we know that do this kind of things, where they work their job and then they spend time after work to try to secure whatever they've made. The simplest thing to do is just buy Bitcoin. Do that. You're much better. You think of all the time you could save by not reading charts, by not reading news releases and all this shit, comparing companies, which ETF is better than the S with management fees and what's in their basket. Who the fuck gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's all fiat.
Totally.
Just if you break it down and just like this is seems the theme.
We've
of the
been
show.
breaking it down over here on CBP.
Yeah, but it's trying to keep it simple, right? Like that seems to be the theme of the show. Like with respect to Bitcoin, how much more simpler could you get? Everybody should be doing that. Fuck looking at these things. Fuck all this garbage. Fuck the TFSA. Fuck the RSP. Fuck the 401ks. Fuck all that shit. That's all fiat trash. Every one of them.
Do you know, unrelated, this will be the last story we talk about on the Bitcoin side, but I want to talk to you about when my daughter was born, a lot of my family asked me if I had opened an RESP for her yet. And if they could give me some money or write me a check for an RESP. And I said, I'm not going to open one for her, I don't think. And got a lot of weird looks. But one thing that has landed in terms of talking to them about whether or not an RESP is a good idea is, it's basically just like this one line of argument, right? The RESP is only available to you down the road, tax-free, if you go to an institution that's sanctioned by the Canadian government in terms of post-secondary value or whatever. You don't want to be at the mercy of the government for sure. But also, are we not entering a world here where post-secondary education is basically worth nothing?
Well, you have the answer to this question, and I'm not going to say it is.
But it's not a sure enough thing to give away that money, not be able to access it for 18, 19 years, and
I'm not going to talk about
fucking stock market as opposed to buying Bitcoin, as opposed to buying like fucking like anything. I would rather buy anything else in almost any other vehicle than open an RESP today.
One could almost make an argument, and I'm not going to make this argument, but one could almost make an argument in RESP is an acceleration play because you also get money from the government when there's a matching thing. I forget what it is.
It's only a match if you use it in the way that they tell you have to. Otherwise,
how do they tell you?
If you have to use it for education. And so the argument I was making is, look, how do I know that my daughter's going to, first of all, want to go to one of these stupid fucking schools? How do I know that those schools are going to be worth anything in terms of career prospects in 20 years? And how do I know that any of the stocks I put the money in are going to, perform the same that Bitcoin would, that anything else would?
100%.
Yeah.
So
you can't.
This is it. You could buy an ETF, a Bitcoin ETF, but using that logic, Joey, and you're 100% right. What's the longevity here? Like, at least with Bitcoin, I'm always having access to this. Yeah. When it's in any vehicle that's with respect to an ETF or anything to do with the markets, I have to wait. If I want to pull out my money in the market, first I got to make the sell, wait for it to get cleared, then go to my bank, then I can pull it. It's days on end.
But at least the sell is instant. Like in the RESP, you can't sell. Like the sell is
instant on paper, but in reality, it has to still do the clearinghouse garbage. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that we don't see. This fiat machine.
Yeah, it's the T+2 or whatever, T+3. I can't remember what it is. Yeah.
So if shit really hits the fan, which
you're stuck,
probably won't. But when I say probably, there's a hint of chance it can happen. What the fuck do you do when you don't have access to your money? Yeah. You got to wait 5 days to get it out. By then, if things, if you really want to go down this road here, and if things go really bad, what's the value of your dollar in 5 days compared to it is now? If things are really bad,
that's true too. That's a fair point. Yeah. So if you end up going down that road,
yeah, and then with Bitcoin, you always have access to it as long as you have internet connection and the fucking network is running, which seems to be always running. Like, what? I can't see. Like, it's just such a beautiful thing, man. Fucking wrap Bitcoin. What the fuck was he thinking? Fuck.
We're going to go to the notable stories here. I just want to say there's like 800 people watching this, which is, a little bit more than what we usually get. I won't say how much we usually get on a Monday night. It's a pretty good number, but it's not 800.
We got maybe 4 people.
Boomer and 3 others. Our wives plus Boomer. Yeah. Jordan, that's it. 6 people. Torup is here every week. P-Man is here every week. Who else? Jake is here every week. There's a bunch of you guys. I don't want to leave anyone out. I'm not going to say any more names, but there's like 800 people watching between YouTube and Twitter, which is fucking awesome. With that said, we're going to split the show right here. We're going to go to the notable stories. If you're on audio listening after the fact, the rest of this will come to your feed tomorrow. If you're anywhere else, stay tuned. We got more coming up.
And don't buy wrapped Bitcoin.